So, you're sitting in your kitchen and you think you're eating clean and you're really not. So let's kind of go over that, okay? So we're going to start doing, like, talking about cooking and doing cooking videos. But let's start with the basics. So let's start from square one, okay? So we already know that it's a red meat allergy, but it's so much more than that. So let's talk about your histamine liberators. So your watermelon, bananas, oranges, strawberries, all the good stuff. Those are all histamine liberators. So let's do some, let's back up a little bit. So when you have allergies, your histamine levels are real high. And when you eat foods that are histamine liberators, it's going to release all those histamines, and you're going to be in trouble. So not only are we allergic to red meat, now we're kind of allergic, not kind of, we are now allergic to your bananas, strawberries, watermelon, anything that is going to be a histamine liberator. So we do know that your histamine levels are actually like your body's alarm. If you start sniffling and sneezing and itching and hives, you kind of know that you're allergic to that. With a lot of us with alpha-gal, it's so much more. It's not just, the sneezing and the hives. A lot of us get pretty sick. Who would ever think that watermelon is going to make you sick, and it's being a fruit? So it makes me wonder, this syndrome, alpha-gal, is so hard to navigate. Now we've got to navigate our fruits and our vegetables. So it almost feels like we're trying to be eradicated off the face of the earth, I tell ya. Like, we're going to be like, I'm going to get kind of off the subject, like, all of us with alpha-gal going to have feeding tubes, put in these pods, and the aliens are going to come down and eat us. I don't know. But it makes me kind of wonder what's going on and why the cases are spiking every day. Just last year, 90,000 cases were reported in 2025 of people who tested positive for alpha-gal. I would think that the food manufacturers are going to need to get a little bit on board with this. So let's start with, we went over your fruits. Even some vegetables are, histamine liberators, or even high in histamines, kind of like tomato. Tomatoes are really high in histamine. If you are an alpha-gal, please do not eat leftovers. As your food sits, your histamine levels grows in that food, so it's going to be pretty high in histamines. So you might want to watch that, as far as leftovers go. Now let's get into our fins. So we know we can have fins and feathers. As a matter of fact, that's what I named my kitchen, was fins and feathers. As far as the fin part goes, is like your fish. We do eat some fish, not as much as we probably should or could, but we do eat fish. I remember the last time we had a tuna salad was probably last fall. I made a tuna salad using canned tuna, and it made us really sick. Well, it made me really sick. And I'm thinking, well, but it's tuna, it's fish. I didn't realize, is it dolphin safe or whatever had to do with the dolphin, I don't know. So now we're going to try making our tuna salad fresh from the tuna steak. And then I'll know what's everything that's in that tuna salad. I won't have to gas about the oils, the vegetable oils, or stored in water, and what kind of water. Because we know, being alpha-gal, there's a lot of waters that we can't have because they're processed with bone char. So we have to be careful with our fish as well. You know what I'm saying? And that's kind of icky. It's hard to navigate as it is. So we went over our fruits. We went over our vegetables, our fish. let's talk about our turkey, our chicken. So when you're alpha gal, really watch your turkey because we are not supposed to have rosemary extract. Butterball, the brand Butterball, they are famous for putting rosemary extract in all their turkey. It will make you sick if you're alpha gal. So remember to read those labels, as you shop. And make sure that when you get the Butterball package, it'll tell you the ingredients. And if it has rosemary extract, put it back. Our chicken. We have already got so much to navigate. Now let's talk about the chicken. So the chicken is, you go to a manufacturer. That's just, for instance, I'm not saying this is what's happening, but for instance, let's just take a brand like Tyson. Whatever that manufacturer feeds their chickens, that is what you're going to consume when you eat that chicken. So, we got to kind of be careful with that too. It's like everything is, no wonder I have PTSD, y'all. So, just kind of like, I'm trying to build up the alpha gal community so we can kind of bounce off of each other and support each other. Kind of let us know what you're going through. Now that you've been diagnosed with alpha gal, you go to the store. I can remember the first time I went grocery shopping, I just stood in the store and just stared because I had no idea to where to even begin. I was from scratch. And, the last thing I want to do is, I don't want anyone to start from scratch like I did. I was just so overwhelmed going to the store. So, maybe drop some comments down. Let us know the products that you use and where you find them. Because that's really important. We do eat duck bacon occasionally and emu and ostrich we had, but it's really expensive. Yeah, it's like $31 a pound. Who could afford that, right? So it kind of, I don't know. We have so much to navigate anyway, you know what I'm saying? And as far as like spices, thinking of like the rosemary extract in your turkey, let's talk spices. How safe are they? Not very, y'all. I'm telling you. Unless you make your spices from scratch, your life basically in your system is in someone else's hands. Like the only spices that we use in our kitchen is salt, pepper, garlic powder, and onion powder, and that's it. And that's enough. You know what I'm saying? Some people with alpha gal can have dairy and some people can't. I am very fortunate to where I could have dairy. I try not to eat a lot of dairy just because it does mess with my system a little. But with my allergy panel, it did say that I could have dairy. I just don't push it. So kind of watch that as well. If you know from your IgE, they could, your IG test that we talked about in the last video, they can also do like a full body panel, like we talked about, total panel. So, you know, you'll at least know if you're allergic to your peanuts and dairy and all the other common things that they would look for. Mine's came back, even though I'm alpha gal, it came back to where I was highly allergic to beef, pork, lamb. Well, doesn't that say I'm alpha gal? But it did come up as in my panel, my allergy panel. So, I don't know, y'all. You know, how do you navigate your dinners? It's kind of, I don't know, kind of depressing, you know. We can have like chicken tacos. Tuesday, chicken tacos. You know, that's easy. You know, there are, you know, we eat pretty basic because being alpha gal, it's not like we can eat elaborate. by any means. You know, we've got to still watch our grains as well. I am not allergic to grains, thank goodness. So there's my small win for the week, I suppose. But we still have to watch everything, and it's just not fair. You know, it just isn't. It makes me wonder, you know, I actually think it's bio warfare. You know, what's happening to so many people here in the South. I am in rural Arkansas, in the northeast part of Arkansas. It's pretty rural out here. But ticks are everywhere. It's crazy. Now, we didn't have a lot of snow. We don't usually have a lot of snow here anyway. But last winter we had one storm, and it didn't get cold like we've seen in previous years. So that's something else that's kind of bringing the ticks out as well. So, you know, I just wanted to go over your histamines, your histamine liberators. You know, watch out your fruits and your vegetables, because those are going to get you as well. So many people say it's a red meat allergy. No, it's not, y'all. It's an everything allergy, if you know what I mean. It's crazy. I am like, I'm not OCD by any means, but I guess I kind of am now. Because with being sick constantly for, you know, 15 plus years, I'm very, dust mites, skin cells, pet dander. I'm constantly vacuuming and dusting and cleaning, because I just trying to keep my family healthy, because my husband also tested for our alpha-gal, and his numbers are a lot higher than my numbers. My goodness. You know, I never did touch bases like on the last video, how often you should have your alpha-gal test done, the IgE. My healthcare provider does mine once a year. So from 2025, my numbers were 0.63. And in March of 26, it's 0.98. So now we know that I'm still getting mammals from somewhere, and I'm still getting really sick. So I still try to watch it and everything, even our health and beauty products. And we'll talk about that on another video as well. I just wanted to kind of touch on our food. You know, make sure you replace all your pots and pans, your cooking ware, even like your air fryer. If you have air fried and you air fried, like, say, a steak in it, well, you certainly can't cook a turkey burger in it, because it's going to cross-contaminate. So replace your air fryer. And I know a lot of people can't afford to do that, you know, like replacing all of your pots and pans, because before you were diagnosed with alpha-gal, you were cooking a lot of red meat in those utensils, and you don't need that. So just get those replaced as soon as you can. I have Pacific skillets that I use. I have a cast iron that's only so big, and the only thing that cast iron pan sees is eggs. That's it. Nothing else goes cooked in that pan. And then I have a pan that I use for my white rice, and that's all that's cooked in that pan. You know, so like my air fryer, the only thing that's cooked in there is our chicken wings. We eat a lot of chicken wings. I love chicken wings. Thank goodness, it's one of my favorite foods. Even before I was diagnosed with alpha-gal, I love chicken wings. So we use one air fryer for chicken wings, but another air fryer for our French fries. Or I'll just use the oven for the fries. So just make sure you're not cross-contaminating from your old products in your kitchen. You know, especially your wooden spoons and stuff. I replaced all of mine. All those, I've known some people that could just boil it, but my PTSD just comes out, and I couldn't take the chance of just boiling them and cleaning them and then thinking, okay, that's fine. My PTSD wouldn't allow me to do that, so I replaced those. So as far as your kitchen goes, keep it as clean as you can, y'all. I know a lot of you don't like cleaning your kitchen or doing your dishes and whatnot, but it's very, very important, or you will continue to get sick. So it's also like, it almost is like it's an environmental allergy as well. So now we have your red meat, right? So we know it's a red meat allergy, stupid tick. I hope he died. And then we've got your vegetables and your fruit that are histamine liberators. Oh my gosh, so there's another part of the allergic part of the tick. So now we're red meat, fruits, vegetables. I know tomatoes are really high in histamine, so this will get you sick if you're not careful. Now we're talking about all our cooking utensils. And it makes me wonder, where is this going to end? We were down at Beaufort Beach. It's down by Spring River. We were down there just this past Sunday. And somebody had lit a barbecue grill. And we had to leave because I am very fume reactive. And it was just making me deathly ill. So even like your grill outside your, like your barbecue grill, we replaced ours. And we actually had two. So on the left side, we had one just for fins and feathers. And then the other side was for red meats. But as I was becoming more reactive, as a matter of fact, we just got rid of that grill. We had gifted it to someone. And now we just have our fins and feather grill. So make sure your grills, you can't just go out there and wash it and say it's not contaminated, because it probably still is. Some people are talking about coffee. How can coffee's vegan? It's a bean. If coffee is upsetting your tummy, what works for me, what we did when I was getting tummy issues with coffee is we switched to decaf. And then I switched to like all our dairy, I drink creamer with my coffee, but my creamer is definitely non-dairy, but I'm supposed to be able to have dairy. And just kind of check your sugars, especially if you do take sugar in your coffee, just watch the sugar that you're using. I personally use raw. It's pure cane sugar, non-processed, and it's just in the raw, and it seems to do better for my system. And that's the only sugar we really have in our house. We don't really have a whole lot of sugar, because sugar, cancer loves sugar. And I'm not saying that alpha-gal is a cancer by any means. Please don't take that wrong. It's just that sugar is just not good for you anyway. So watch your sugar levels. And remember to drink lots of water, because the water is going to help flush those allergens out. So there you go. There's my video, y'all. I did talk about how it's not just red meat allergy, because now you're allergic to your histamine liberators. So, just be careful with those. Remember to change out your pans and your cooking utensils. And there you go. So if you had anything that works for you, leave a comment down below, because it's definitely going to help the rest of the community if we can just kind of like feed off of each other and give each other ideas and the support, because it's very important. Because with alpha-gal, I believe, depression is definitely there. It definitely is, because who wouldn't be depressed if you couldn't have chocolate anymore? You know what I'm saying? So let's just kind of support each other. You know, once again, leave your comments down below. Let's kind of help each other. Bounce some things off and give some support, and let's not do ugly. Remember to drink your water, and we will see you on the next video. In the meantime, don't eat any suspicious food and stay beautiful.